You will be dead by Christmas. That is what my oncologist told me yesterday when we had our meeting. Now, it's not the only thing he told me, but it was definitely the part of the conversation that jumped out the most at me. Now, before you get the wrong impression, let me kind of give you a complete picture of everything that happened. That way you'll be better able to understand and to put that statement into the proper context. So the day started off pretty normal. Woke up, I did put an alarm because I wanted to make sure I'd be on my meeting on time and, not miss it. So wake up, go to the bathroom, brush my teeth, do what I gotta do, take a shower, get ready, eat breakfast, record the video for the day. And as I'm uploading the video, I look at the time, I'm like, wait, it's 8:51. My first meeting, because I have two meetings on that day. First the blood test, and then an hour later, the meeting with the doctor. So I'm like, wait, my blood test is scheduled for 9 o'clock. How can it be 8:51 right now? Because I need an hour to get to the hospital. This doesn't make sense. And that's when I realized, oh crap, I screwed up the time. So I'm like, all right, the appointment's at 9. I need to leave my apartment at 8. That means I need to get up around 7, but just to be safe, to make sure I have enough time to take a shower and have breakfast, let me give myself an hour and a half just to be safe. So I'm like, all right, cool. I'll set the alarm at 7:30. I'll get up, everything will be great. Except I didn't realize until that very moment, 9 minutes before my appointment, wait, I should have woken up at 6:30, not 7:30. Luckily for me, the way the appointments work for blood tests is, you show up, scan your card, then you're in the system, and they call your name when it's ready. It's usually relatively quick. And even though they give you a precise time, you don't need to be exactly on time. If you're a little early, odds are you'll get your blood test done sooner. If you're a little late, you'll just get it done a little later. So I'm like, I should be okay. I just hope I can make it to the hospital in time, that I won't miss the blood test or I won't be late for my doctor's appointment, because that's really the most important thing. So, grab all my stuff, head out. Even though the video isn't done uploading, I'm like, I don't care. It's just gonna finish on my cell phone data, whatever. Let's just go as soon as possible. So end up getting there by 9:36. So I'm only 36 minutes late. Luckily, there's not that many people, so within maybe 5 minutes, they're taking my blood, and then I go to the main waiting room and wait to be called by the doctor. So I'm like, all right, cool. Everything worked out, nothing to worry about, everything's all good. And then they go ahead and weigh me, and that's when the bad news begins. So it turns out I lost more weight. I'm now down to 117.5 pounds. And normally I wouldn't include the 0.5, but given how little I currently weigh, I really need that 0.5, so I'm going to take it. Like, once again, even though I've said this a couple of times in the past, I've never weighed so little in my entire life. And in fact, a little later on when I end up speaking to the doctor, he does mention at some point, like, if your body drops, he said in kilograms, but in pounds it's around 100. So basically, like, if you get below 100, you won't be, like, you'll have trouble lifting your limbs. You won't really be able to move anymore. And if ever it gets to that point, you're basically screwed. So that was kind of the first bad news. Like, even though I hadn't had that conversation yet and I didn't have that piece of information, I knew losing weight is bad. Okay, the good news is I didn't lose as much weight in those 3 weeks as I did in the previous 3 weeks. So that's good. I did manage to slow it down slightly, but it's still, in the last 3 times I was weighed, it's always like down, down, down. And I'm like, okay, that is not a good sign. That is not a good pattern. Something that later on my oncologist confirmed. So after I'm done, go back to the waiting room, wait for the doctor to call me, and eventually he calls me in. And as usual, I always have a list of questions that I've prepared. A couple of them are mine. Most of them are usually from my wife because she's more curious than me. She has more questions. For me, it's just like, the situation is what it is. There isn't really that much. Like knowing every single little detail will not really change anything. I'm already living the experience, so it's not that important. But I get that to her, like from the outside perspective and being so far away and everything, like I understand how important it is for her to like understand everything, to have that big picture and to be able to ask questions. So I always make sure to, ask her, hey, I'm going to the doctor. Do you have any questions? And I always make sure to ask him. So coming up with my list of questions, sit down. He's like, all right, what are your questions? Because at this point he's used to it. So go through the different questions and everything. Just a quick update, even though that's not the focus of the video, just wanted to mention it. Regarding the whole anal cancer slash hemorrhoids slash whatever that thing is, my pivot nurse just didn't get a chance to mention it to the doctor. It wasn't really that important in the grand scheme of things. So he's like, yeah, okay, no problem. We'll put a request in the system. We'll have an expert, reach out, or rather like the hospital reach out to you, schedule an appointment with an expert. They're going to do the necessary tests and exams and whatever is necessary to determine exactly what it is. So that is still in kind of a waiting pattern. We'll see what ends up happening with that. But, given the news that the doctor gave me, it's not like it doesn't seem as important now. Like, even if it is anal cancer, given everything else that I learned yesterday, it's like, okay, well, who really cares at this point? So, anyway, we'll see with that in the future. I'll definitely keep you updated whenever I have news on that. So, once I'm done asking all her questions, he goes ahead and he's like, all right, we need to have a conversation. It's going to be a difficult conversation. I might hurt your feelings, but I think it's very important to be direct, to be honest with you and not hide anything, which I've always appreciated that about my oncologist. So I'm like, all right, cool, let's do it. So he's like, I've been thinking a lot about your case, your situation, everything, and the fact that you've been losing a lot of weight recently is a very bad sign. It means one of multiple things. Either your body just can no longer handle fighting the cancer and it's just taking over. Sorry. It's just taking over and that's what's causing you to lose weight. Or you're just not able to eat enough because of everything going on. Or, you're not exercising enough, so your body is getting weaker and weaker, or it's a combination of those things. Whatever it is, losing weight is very dangerous given your current situation. And it's something we really need to focus on. We really need to find a solution to, because it's like, and that's kind of the point where he mentioned, like, if you get below 100 pounds, you're pretty much screwed. Like, you're not going to be able to move anymore. You're going to have trouble just moving your arms and legs. And at that point, it's pretty much downhill from there. There's nothing we can do. So that was the kind of first piece of bad news. He then goes on to say, remember the trial I told you about in Vancouver that they're doing and everything? It's like, I went to 3 meetings recently and, tried to present your case and everything. Unfortunately, they're not taking on any new patients. It's not because they're assholes, it's just because that's how the process works. And I'm like, hey, don't worry about it. Like, I completely understand. I get it. I always knew it was a long shot. And he already told me like a few times before that they're not taking on anyone new at the moment. So I'm like, I wasn't expecting anything from that. But that door is basically shut and locked at this point. He then goes on to say, given the situation, given everything, unless we can get your weight under control and given the, the current situation, that seems very difficult to do. Like, I can't force you to eat. I can't force feed you. Given the immunotherapy, we can't intravenously feed you because it could react with the immunotherapy and cause infection, which is something we definitely don't want. So he's like, all you can do is just try to eat more, and that has become my main focus right now. I'll get to that later. But he's like, so, we can't really expect your weight to go back to a place where we can expect things to be like, all right, cool, it's stable, it's normal, you just keep losing weight. That's a very bad sign. So at this point, given the situation, I only see 2 options. So once we're done here, we're gonna go do a CT scan of your chest. Once we get the results in a few weeks, and we're going to wait a few weeks just to make sure, given the severity of the situation, give the lab techs really time to analyze and compare everything to know if it's stable or if the cancer has progressed. Because at this point, there's two options. If we get the results back and it's stable, all right, we'll keep doing what we're doing. We'll keep going with the immunotherapy and everything and just, hope for the best. But even if that's what ends up being, we're still just buying more time. It's not good news, it's just less bad news. The other option is we get the tests back, we get the results, and the cancer has progressed. In that case, let me be very blunt with you. If that's what happens, I recommend book a flight tomorrow, go to Nicaragua, be with your wife, because you'll be dead by Christmas. That's kind of when he dropped the bombshell. Now, as you can tell from the story I've shared so far, we don't have the results yet. We don't know anything for sure. But there is a very high possibility that things have gotten worse. And that from a medical standpoint, from my oncologist's experience and personal advice is you are screwed. You are going to die very soon. Spend whatever time you have left with your loved ones. So that was definitely intense. Not a pleasant conversation to have. But surprisingly enough, or maybe not surprisingly, if you've been watching me for a while, you know how I am. It hasn't changed anything for me. I still don't feel like I'm on the verge of death. I still don't look like I'm on the verge of death. I still believe that I'm somehow going to survive and get better. And even though that may be for some people, they're going to see this and they're going to be like, you're just delusional, you're ignoring the truth. And that may be the case. But I prefer to believe that I'm going to be okay and end up being wrong than just giving up and letting myself die. Because then I'm guaranteeing the result. Whereas if I believe that anything is still possible, anything can still happen, then at least there's a chance that I could survive. So it hasn't changed how I feel. It hasn't changed my beliefs. It hasn't changed anything inside. If anything, it's made me more motivated to once again beat the odds, to prove my doctor wrong. So that is kind of the situation. Then I went upstairs, got the scan, and now we're just waiting for the results. So obviously, it was a difficult conversation to have with my wife. She cried, but I just want to, I point this out because I'm just very proud of her for how she's handling the situation. Yes, she did cry, she did process and did, what she had to. And I know it is very difficult for her, but just like me, it hasn't changed how she feels inside. Her faith remains the same. Her belief that I'm going to be okay remains the same. And for me, even though I have no control over what's going to happen, I have no way of knowing what's going to happen, this is what I sense will happen. The results will come back. The verdict is going to be the cancer has progressed, at which point my doctor will say, go to Nicaragua, be with your wife, enjoy what little time you have left, at which point I will do exactly that. I will go over there, I will spend time with her, not to enjoy the time I have left, not to go there to die, but to go there to be with her, because I know, and I've mentioned this multiple times in previous video, she is my cure. Not in the sense that it's her responsibility to cure me, just in the sense that her presence in my life, her love, is what's going to help cure me. And also, I've always loved the water. I've always loved the beach. I've loved the ocean, swimming in the ocean, the waves, that motion of going up and down. It's always made me feel so much better. Even last year when I went down there to get married, we went to the beach for a couple of days. And being in the ocean, whenever I was in the ocean, it's like everything just melted away and I felt amazing. I felt great. And I sense that if this is what's meant to happen, one, being with my wife, having her love, her presence in my life is going to make a huge impact. And being on the beach, being able to go in the ocean, to walk in the sand, to feel those waves, to feel that fresh air, that's also going to help a lot. So this is what I feel like is going to happen. And I just feel like being in that situation will allow me to heal. That's what I expect to happen. But once again, what you expect and what actually happens is rarely the same thing. So I don't know what to expect. I don't want to get my hopes up or anything like that. But I believe that it's very important to remain strong in this situation. What you believe, what you think will happen, what, and not just what you believe, but what you choose to be your reality, your truth. Because, yeah, okay, the doctor may be an expert. He may tell me there's no hope, you're going to die, enjoy what little time you have left. That doesn't mean I have to believe it. There's been multiple examples of people who have beaten the odds, who have survived supposedly unsurvivable things, and I plan on being one of those people. So even though this all sounds like bad news, or, bad news in the making, first of all, we don't know anything yet. And second of all, it doesn't change how I feel. I still believe deep down in the core of my being that I will survive this somehow. So that has been my story for the day. Yesterday was definitely an intense day and an intense night. As expected, I didn't sleep that much just because there's a lot of things to think about and process and stuff. So definitely an intense period right now. But on the plus side, my life is no longer boring. Not really sure if that's a good thing, but silver lining. So once again, thank you for being here. Thank you for allowing me to share. Thank you for following my journey. And I'll talk to you tomorrow.